Good morning, everybody. This is Saturday, April 4th. How is everybody doing? This is the Cowboy, and welcome to ELLIOTTWave Cafe. This is another episode of Bitcoin and Ethereum ELLIOTTWave analysis, where every couple of weeks we jump on and we take a look at the wave counts. What's going on in Bitcoin? What's going on in Ethereum? What does ELLIOTTWave principle tells us about the next upcoming move? What happened in the past and what's likely to happen in the future? Obviously, we could be wrong here, as it can be with anything in life. You're putting your best work forward. You're trying to identify, following the rules and the guidelines, the best idea, and you just have to kind of go with it, right? So I'm going to start with Ethereum today, and then we're going to jump over into Bitcoin. I just thought I'll switch it up a little bit, since I always leave Ethereum at the end in most of my videos. So let's take a look. Now, listen, the blue count is the one of my primary counts here. It is the primary count where I'm looking at this decline, at this corrective pattern as a second wave. Now, this is taking a long time. It's been about a year since we've kind of had these tops back in 2021. And we really haven't gone anywhere. It's mostly a sideways correction. Listen, if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's probably a duck. It's probably a triangle. I'm going in here with the flat correction as my primary interpretation. I am super aggressive in this count. I do like it. And this is the projected path that I'm kind of following up. I'm going to look at this as a 1-2, then another 1-2 forming with an explosion higher here in Ethereum that's going to take $5,000 and then create an impulse of the lows with a deeper correction next, followed by a much larger advance. So I don't know if my projections toward the end of the year here are very, very aggressive. But if you're looking at the way this move here kind of went up and you're just projecting this from these levels, it's quite achievable. I might not get the angle of ascent. Even if it changes a little bit, it could still then send Ethereum upwards of $10,000. So this is kind of what I'm following into this ABC correction as a flat formation. So now we're going to take a look at the smaller time frames in here, but it is something that I have as a as a primary guide, that is a primary interpretation. Where this count will go wrong? Well, it will go wrong the moment it will start to break below these levels. The moment you kind of start to get back below 2,500 in here, I think it's very unlikely that this will continue to push higher. It's probably going to be looked at as a three-wave setback, and we're probably going to break lower and overtake to the downside the $2,000 level. So these levels in here are very important, the 2,500 in Ethereum. Now, the next one in here, it is my triangle count. This is a very close second, just like Verstappen is up there on the Formula One next to Leclerc. I'm a big Formula One fan. I like Hamilton, I like Leclerc. I'm not a big fan of Verstappen, but it's pretty funny, the fights up there. So anyway, this is a close second in terms of the counts, and I'm looking at this as a triangle, right, in a contracting type variety, where wave B actually moves higher above this wave A. We're calling this a running triangle. And since I am this explanation, I'll throw a little bit of a quick lesson in here for you guys. There is something that's called a running barrier triangle, and this goes like this. It's a wave A, it's a wave B, goes to new highs, then you do a wave C, you do a wave D, and then you do a wave E, and then you break up higher. Wave B and wave D are very, very close to each other, almost to a perfect location, and this is called a barrier, running barrier triangle, and then you're pushing higher. And this one, since this wave D, it's much lower than wave B, if it is completed, then we would call this a regular, just running triangle, just because this B wave terminates above the origin of the wave A. If this wave B would be lower, then that will be just a regular contracting triangle in here. So now the question is, does this D wave looks complete? It could be maybe this is a fourth and we're getting one more push up higher in here, and then you could get that done. But it does look like a three-way sequence, and without, you know, knitting and picking on the smaller time frames, just looking at the 2-day chart, we might get just an E-wave pullback and then the rally back higher towards $10,000, where I have some upside targets based on some measurements on wave 5 versus wave 1 in here, and then wave 5 versus 1 through wave 3 primary, and that would give us some decent targets. In terms of you know, the length of time spent into the fourth wave compared with the wave second, we have passed 100%, which was at this kind of C wave low, and we're continuing to run towards 150%, 106.18, which are, you know, more of a standard time fib for a fourth wave compared with the wave second in terms of time. So that's kind of where I'm at on Ethereum. Now I'll give you a quick glimpse in what I'm looking at. Let me just kind of save this up in what I'm looking at on the smaller time frames, and I'm going to go right here. I'm going to switch over to Ethereum, and this is, you know, kind of the active counts we're having in the pro room, and I'm looking at this move under the 1-2-1-2 scenario, this being a 1-2, 1-2, 3, 4, 5. This could be a fourth wave forming in here. At this degree of trend, I'm watching this trend line. It's kind of starting to fall apart a little bit in here, and you know, we might have to adjust this count, but it is something that I am watching on the bullish narrative. Was this is a 1, you know, you're getting a flat wave here with the C wave, and then a 1-2, and then you're doing kind of a larger third wave. Now this is on the bullish scenario. On the alternate scenario, that's that D wave where you go in a W, X, and then you can do an ABC, or this whole thing here could be an X wave where you're shifting this over like that, and then you push up higher. Obviously you can change this to an ABC if you want, so you would have to go, let me just show you this. This is one of the sort of head and shoulder formation I kind of looked at before, but you can do this as an ABC. I'm just going to spend a second here. You can do this as an A, triangle B, and then up in C, and then you could be done. This is a triangle A, B, C, D, and E, and then you're pushing higher. So, you know, my count here shows it as WXY, but it was based on maybe looking at this as an impulse A, B, and then up in C to kind of get a double zigzag in here instead of a regular ABC formation. But one thing to notice in here is please notice the equality 100%. Let's say on Y versus W, and I think we're pretty close on 100% equality even on a ABC. Let's just do that really quickly. Alt C on the keyboard, and we're just, you know, slightly below that, because you are 37.66 would have been equality on C versus A. So that's one of the scenarios that I'm kind of watching. We'll continue to look. I don't think I have, in terms of trading, opportunities in here. I don't think there is anything that really excites me. There was something that was much better looking on this pullback. So, you know, unless this whole move in here, it's already done and becomes another 1-2, and I'll show you this here, then you're looking at the tradable move. So I'm going to go to a 6-hour chart. Let's just say that this becomes a wave 1 of the lows, and you're starting your wave count here to a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for a 1, then this becomes an ABC, and you're doing something like this, and you're pulling back into the 618, 50% to 618. You continue to go, let's say something like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for an A, B, and then up in C. And this is kind of what would float my boat for a tradable move to the upside. So I'm not super excited right now about, you know, any Ethereum longs. I want to see a little bit more from this price action, and if this unfolds like this, then, you know, I'm going to get excited about a long positioning. If this wave starts to move lower and you're starting to kind of, start to crash to the downside, and you get a much larger impulse, you know, either in this wave A or this wave C starts to feel like it is extended lower, then, you know, we're going to get confirmations of this level in here being that B wave or that X wave low that's going to get taken out by a push lower in this C wave. That becomes a third wave instead, and that's how you start the next impulse to the downside. So keep this in mind. I think, you know, this is a good kind of show of what I'm looking for when I want to trade a pattern, and how much patience you have to let these patterns develop and only get in at your own terms and not on the market's terms, because that's when you can get stuck for a little while before your trade actually starts to work, or you don't have a good risk reward, things of that nature. But for example, on an approach of the 618, if I see a little bit of a confirmation, my stops will have to be below these lows, and then I would look for a move to the upside. So just pretty standard procedure for the for our pro room in here, and kind of what I talk about it every single day. Let me go back to my main account so I don't lose this. All right, now let's jump back and take a look at Bitcoin. And, this is what, and listen, before I jump onto Bitcoin, I wanted to say something really, really quickly. It's important that you guys subscribe, and it's important that you hit the thumbs up button and you like the video, so we continue to grow into rankings. This channel continues to grow. It looks pretty good. There's about 41 or 4150 subscribers, something like that. So we're growing at a steady rate. So don't forget to subscribe and like. Don't forget to visit me in the pro room. Take a trial, a 7-day trial. It's pretty cheap. The yearly subscription is like $39 a month, and you can come into my trading room and trade with me and watch the markets with me every single day, and I'll show you what we do there. So anyway, let's move on to Bitcoin. And this is my primary count. It's called the white count, and I'm looking at this. Surprise, surprise, super aggressive, 1, 2, 1, 2, with the push higher here in the 3, 4, and 5. That could take Bitcoin upwards of 500,000 over the next couple of years. What is this, 2026? Okay, give it 4 or 5 years, right? So I guess I'm in Cathy Wood camp here, that thinks Bitcoin will reach 500,000. But not only that, the counts kind of seem to suggest that it could be something that could be unfolding. So let me jump over from a 2-week that looks a little bit scary here to a 1 week, and this is kind of how I have it. That wave 2. Wave C of 2 terminated back in January 24th through this impulsive decline, and then I'm looking for the market to show me that it starts to build an impulsive phase. So far, not very convincing. It's not very convincing. I'm getting just a 3-wave move, so the market could laugh in my face here and just crash lower and be like, cowboy, listen, you were bullish there for a while, but we have other thoughts, and we want to shake off more players before we're actually trending higher. And I will show you a count that could smell like something like that could unfold. But anyway, at least for a minimum target, you will look at about 540,000 on an equality 3 versus 1. And it would need to start impulsive in a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so on and so forth. So that's my primary count. I'm going to take a look at the shorter time frame. But I do like it. It's been with me for a while, and we kind of got a little bit excited on this breakout. It was just a B wave, just a failure in there, I think, of a flat formation. Some of you guys actually identified this correctly as a B wave, and we've kind of sold off in the C. So kudos to those guys that said that this was more than likely a flat correction. I was not in that camp. So, and the reason why I wasn't is because I don't like to call for B waves until I'm actually getting a structure that shows me it's a flat, and that's by the forming of the C wave after that. So just to kind of point to my defense in why I'm looking at the flats the way I do. So that's the sequence. And then listen, on the red count, it is just a simple triangle scenario. Again, if he looks like a duck and walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And it is a triangle in here, and an A, B, C, D, and E. Now you see in Ethereum that D wave pushed a little bit higher. It has more of a better look in terms of the rise of that D wave. In Bitcoin, it's not. It's still very short. I would love to get a D wave near 55,000 to get more of a proper look for a D wave, and so far it hasn't happened. So that means that maybe this is still an ABC for a W instead of an A. That's a B wave in an X, and then I'm doing an A, B, and then upping C for a wave Y. And still, Bitcoin should move higher towards those levels and then complete a D wave. I don't know how that would transform, how that will transport into the Ethereum market, but let's treat them individual and on their own kind of time frames, and so they can stand on their own merits on whatever they do in terms of price. But if a D wave is finished, I would be very surprised. And if it is, that means that we're going to get a very short E wave in 3 waves, and then we could explode to the upside again. Watch the time fib in here for a C wave near 100%, wave 4 versus wave 2, and then 161.8 that comes with this E wave. I mean, it's basically somewhere in, I think it is in somewhere in June where this E wave will finish. So maybe another couple of months of sideways price action before we actually explode to the upside in a 5th wave. We'll see. What I don't like about this count is that this move out of here could be a terminal move unless you're getting an explosion in a 5th wave and you get something super extended. But usually moves out of a 4th wave triangle are terminal patterns, which means that the next move lower, it's going to be a big crash in Bitcoin. So that's why I'm not a big fan of the triangle, just because I'm thinking of the longer term outlook in there. So that's kind of where I'm at on the Bitcoin, on the 2 primary counts, on the primary and on the alternate. And then let me show you the black count here, that it's looking at this as being a 1-2, and this is how kind of that would unfold. You would have a wave 1 cycle that terminated back in 2018, wave 2 cycle, back at the pandemic lows in here, and then you're going up in a wave 1, which I don't like because of this whole structure. I've done a video explaining all of that and reasoning why I don't think that's the case. You might want to check that out. But under this scenario, I'm looking for a wave 2 pullback, which you're looking at the 618. That's pretty deep. 23% is at about 38% is about 23,000, 16,000 for 50, and then 11,000 for 618. So I'm not sure how this is going to unfold. Usually you're getting zigzags in wave 2s, right? Just like you're looking in here. I mean, this was a double, but you're looking at maybe an A, B, and then a short C wave could give you that second wave look with a push higher, or if it becomes something even larger, then the second wave could extend much larger, much in a longer depth, let's say in time, and it could be just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a wave A, up in B, and then down in C. And I kind of have this under my yellow count, which is more of a cycle wave top in a wave 1 in Bitcoin. And this is the I'm not going to say it here on YouTube, but this is the bad scenario where Bitcoin actually collapses and you're coming back towards, in a much larger correction. I don't think that's the case. I mean, look at this. This is a log scale. I mean, if you look at every stock, if you look at Apple, you look at Amazon, you look when these things start to get network growth and you're getting into a mass adoption in here, you're not getting on a logarithmic scale those types of visual pullbacks. The things start to be a little bit more small and more contained and shorter. And if you switch obviously to an arithmetic scale, you'll see the depth of those moves a little bit better. But that's why I don't think that's the case. I think these prices will be supported very, very well, by people that want to get and maybe institutions that want to get into Bitcoin at lower prices, and even retail traders that cannot wait to kind of get their hands on Bitcoin if it's coming lower towards, let's say, even $20,000 level, 25,000. And if you look at the longer term, I mean, moving averages here, I mean, the 200 week is at about 20,000, 21,000 almost, right? So, and it's been offering support every single time it kind of hit it, and unless something horrible happens to the network, or in terms of legislative environment there where people are going to, where the governments are going to start banning or make it difficult for Bitcoin to exist, then you could say that fine, Bitcoin can crash below those levels and get into a big bear winter market. But you would have to kind of get cut in half for it to kind of reach those levels. And that would kind of fit that kind of ABC narrative that I kind of showed you in the black scenarios. I don't think that my yellow, it's got very, very strong standings for the lack of a better term. So that's kind of what I'm seeing in Bitcoin. And just a very, very quick look at the shorter time frames here. I'm going to jump over to Bitcoin. I'm watching here. We actually opened a long trade. I'm long at about 42,400, but I've only opened up just a quarter of a position. So I'm looking at the full position that's made of four chunks of trades, right? And I'm since I don't have a lot of confirmation from this market, and I'm buying into a kind of selling off environment in here into the 618. I'm starting small, and if I'm wrong, I'm not getting hurt, right? But if I'm right, and the Bitcoin starts to kind of raise higher, then I can start to add and build a position. If the market moves in such a way that gives me confidence that this decline terminates by the look of the RSI, by the channel, by the by listening to price and watching what's going on the candlesticks and just watching sentiment, then I can add to that position as the market moves lower, right? Maybe towards 618, which is about 41,300. If I'm noticing those levels give me signs that are holding, I'll increase that position. And then, if we're coming back towards 78.6, which is 3940K, then I know I could be wrong, and I'm going to start to kind of thinking about closing those positions with stops below 37,500. So I am approaching this through a 1-2-1-2, and this, I'm looking at this as a WX and a triangle in a Y wave. So that's a rare kind of corrective pattern. You're looking at an impulse in an ABC in a wave 1, and then a pullback in an ABC at a two-wave low, at a second wave low, and then looking for this market to react higher. So I'm watching this here. It's a little awkward because if you look at it as an impulse, it's got to be some kind of a diagonal maybe, and it's an expanding kind, followed by a B wave, then a 1 flat in 2, and then you're looking at a sharp drop in this third, fourth, and maybe this fifth wave still forms. That's why I'm allowing a little bit more to the downside in here, and then I'll get long and I'll increase, and then we're looking for this to kind of travel higher. I'm going to show you this in here, right? Something like that inside this channel, because for right now you're making higher lows here and you're making higher highs. So you have a change in trend, but this move in here, it still looks fairly choppy, and it's not getting the strength that I wanted just yet. But one thing to keep in mind is this move in here, this big move, and I'm going to close with this move right in here, right? It's different. It does not belong anymore to this declining pattern. So you have to look at it a couple of ways, right? This has been done to these levels, and whatever happens from here, it's the start of an impulse, or if it's a correction, it can be, a couple of things. It can be a fourth wave, which it's not, because you don't have a third and a second to match with this, right? So you eliminate the fourth wave idea. So it's either a second, right, as a 1-2, and you're preparing for a crash lower, right, in 1-2, and then 3, 4, and 5, or it's a B wave, right, or it's an X wave. So think about that when you're counting and when you're analyzing what this could be, right? So it could be a second, it could be a B, or it could be part of a next wave structure in an ABC X and then another ABC lower. And the way this looks, I'm going back in here and I'm going to take you to my discount right in here. Sorry, that's Ethereum. Let me jump over to Bitcoin. And this is that. Right. And this is kind of how it unfolds. And I talk about this in the program as well. I'm not putting my head in the ground thinking that, hey, you're definitely going to break higher in here. So I am prepared for a break to the downside. And that's kind of how that would look. So either a second here, or as I've showed you before into that black count, this becomes a B wave, and then you're maybe pushing lower in a larger C. But the decline will look like this: wave 1, then A triangle, B up in C. You're beginning the first sequence of the wave 1. Then you're going to get a pullback. So no matter what, I think we're going to get a rally in Bitcoin after we're finishing this declining sequence. It's all a matter, what is this going to be? Is this going to be the beginning of a larger impulse, or is it just going to be three-way failure, and then you're breaking lower and attacking 28 to 30K, 4 and 5. And on this positive note, guys, I'll leave it at that. Please don't forget to subscribe and like. Please visit me in the pro room, where we do a lot of things, not just Bitcoin. We take a look at macro and Forex and commodities and everything in between. And there is a pretty active chat room as well with a lot of comments in there, and interesting stuff going on up in there. But I love it, and I like my members. They're awesome. So I'll leave you guys with that, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks to discuss Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then next week we'll continue with our charts of the day, where we take a look at stocks and different issues there. But again, thanks for watching, and I'll be talking to you soon. Bye bye.